All right, good morning. This is Peter here with Sales Your Way, and I'm here with Tristan. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, Peter. I'm Tristan Ritchie. I'm from Sudbury, Ontario, up in Canada, and I'm going to talk about goal setting today. We're going to discuss that a little bit. I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, so we just met this week through someone else that I've never actually met in person either, through a Facebook page that I started for some sales training, Sales Your Way, that I'm doing, and I had the idea to do weekly short videos on the different topics that I'm covering, and this week is going to be goal setting. And I asked for who was the best goal setting person that anyone knew, and your name came up, and so here we are. Why don't you tell me a little bit about what you do, what's your business, and that sort of thing.
So I'm in real estate, so it's pretty much like I'm self-employed, and so I like this is why goal setting is so important. So I deal with a lot of clients. I got a lot of listings, buyers, and every day is basically a different day. So I set goals for every single day. But then I also own a social media marketing company.
Nice.
Where I do marketing online. So I got to obviously set goals for that. And I just realized over the past couple of years going to seminars and everything that it helps with efficiency, which is like the key to all the successful people in the world. The more you know what you're doing at all times and you know what you're trying to accomplish for that day, the more you can be efficient.
If you had to explain goal setting to someone in one or two sentences, what would you say?
Targets is when you're working towards something and you know exactly what your goals are and also your targets for that day. So maybe your goal is to make $1 million. Let's just say, for example, a lot of people have that goal, right? If you just have that goal in mind, you might be scrambled trying to figure out what you want to do that day to get to that goal. Because every day you're doing little tiny things that are going to get you that goal eventually. So if you're setting goals each day or each week, each 6 months, then you have easier targets to attain. And once you attain them, then you get a little bit more excited, get more energy to attain the next ones. And it just keeps you on track, I find.
Right. So think back to maybe some of your early memories of goal setting when you were a kid, or when you first realized, hey, this is something I should do. What were some of your experiences with that?
Well, that's the thing, actually. I've only been goal setting for about 2 years now,
Okay, yeah.
But it's made a huge difference in my life, like huge. I always had dreams of doing big things and getting really successful and everything.
Yeah.
But like I was explaining earlier, I was often lost on a day-to-day basis. Like I'd be really busy and I would be at my computer working, but a lot of the things I was doing were like not things that I should be doing myself and I should be outsourcing. Right. So I was setting goals like, okay, I got to finish this in 6 months from now, but then I keep putting it off. But that's actually the important aspect of getting to my goal. So with having that as a set goal for, let's say, a month, then every day I'm like, okay, so I have to film one video. So one of my goals is to have an online course on real estate investing. So I broke it down. Instead of just saying, hey, in 6 months, I'm going to launch the course, then I would kind of be lost along the way. Now I'm setting, so every 2 weeks I have to have 4 videos done, edited, and ready to go.
Yep.
So then I can keep track that way, and then long term, and it's efficiency.
Yep. Well, I know for me, when I was younger, I used to be really good at just dreaming up these really big, huge ideas.
Yeah.
Things, and then it would just kind of stay there because I wouldn't break it down into like the smaller stuff that a person needs to do on a day-to-day basis to actually make it happen, and then I'd get overwhelmed and then I'd fail.
Exactly. Getting overwhelmed, that's a huge one, right? Because you don't really see your progress if you don't have those step-by-step goals, those intermediate, like every month or every week goals.
Right. So what changed for you from, you said it was a few years ago, you really got serious about goal setting? Was there a specific experience or a moment that you kind of had a wake up to, like, I need to do this?
Yeah, actually there was. I went to, you ever been to Tony Robbins seminar?
Yeah, I've listened to him.
You've listened to him.
I've listened to him a lot, yeah.
Yeah, the guy's amazing. And I went to a seminar and I was sitting in this room and it was Wealth Expo, I believe. Forget. Yeah, I think Wealth Expo. Actually, I have it on my computer here. But anyways, yeah. It was unreal. So he was only there. It wasn't like a full Tony Robbins. There was other guys speaking.
Okay.
But he was like the main guy, obviously, for 2 or 3 hours. And he's sitting there and he's trying to get everyone motivated, talking about business. And I'm looking around the room, and he does these seminars every day, right? Like tons and tons. He speaks to millions of people. And if everything he says is super true, But why aren't all these people super successful after going to one of his seminars?
Right.
It's because no one puts in the work and actually listens to, like, they listen to what he has to say, they get all excited, but then they don't apply it when they get to the real life situations. So I was looking around the room and seeing everyone. I'm like, hey, I want to do something different. And then he had mentioned something about goal setting, how important it is to have all the little goals, plan it on a day-to-day. All the successful people, when they go to bed, like when you read any kind of documentary, they have their goals. They say them out loud. They usually have 4 or 5 before you go to bed and when you wake up. And then they also set them for the next day. And then on Sundays, they usually set them for the whole week.
Right.
So that really made me realize, if all these successful people are doing it, there must be a reason for it to be efficient and actually work. So that's when it's like, it was like a light bulb. And it takes a while to really master it. And I still haven't mastered it by any means. I'm still, like, some of the goals I still write down or I don't get to, or then I realize that aren't the most important, but I'm getting better and I'm scratching more and more off my list all the time. So even I'll show you guys on my computer here. I have my daily goals.
Yep.
And then I have my weekly goals. Nice. And then on a bigger page, like on my desk here, stuff, I have like monthly, yearly, 5 years, and you can revisit them, change them.
Yep.
Whenever you want.
Yeah. So when you first had kind of that awakening to, I need to set goals, did you have your why and your purpose kind of behind that you knew what that was, or did this help you kind of clarify and focus that too, or what did that look like for you?
I love that you asked that question, because I was going to bring it up, but then I forgot when I was talking. Is that purpose is super important. You can't set goals that you don't believe in. That's another thing I learned from reading Tony Robbins and other podcasts and just listening to these successful people talk, is you got to understand yourself. And we were kind of talking about this on the phone right earlier, like a couple of days ago. Nowadays, no one spends time, and including me. I didn't do this until about a year ago. I like turned everything off. I went to camp up here in Canada. Is like there's no electricity or nothing. You're just sitting out in the bush, like with a fire. And I went out there and I just like pretty pondered for like a day and just tried to figure myself out, and not having technology around, like anything to distract you. Like no one does that nowadays, right? You're on the bus, you're walking, even you're reading stuff. So getting that deeper understanding of yourself and what you want is in the long term going to help you set those long-term goals. And then you have to, and if you really believe in them, then that's when you can manifest them.
It's easy to set goals, but it's hard to set goals that really matter and that really serve what your real purpose is, right? So being able to align those things really is key. And that's something that I'm playing around with too, where I'll set goals to read this many books in this time or do this or that. And is that really getting at the why of what I want to do with that? And so I kind of listen to myself and my activity with what really gets important to me. How am I spending my time, and then adjusting my goals to that to make them something that serve where I'm headed. So like I just did this a couple of weeks ago. I had bucket list stuff kind of scattered on different things, and I heard 3 different people from 3 different things saying you have a bucket list and have it in front of you. So I'm like, well, crap, I need to do that. So these sticky notes were the result of that. Now I'm taking those things and kind of breaking them down into specific, like where am I headed with different things with it.
Yeah. So for your books, let's say, what is your ultimate goal that you're trying to achieve, and how are reading these books? Is it something that you actually love and enjoy? Or are you doing it because you think it's going to help you reach the goal? And if it's to help you reach the goal, is that actually the most efficient way of doing it? Right. So, think of all the little steps of it. Because I was like that too. I was like reading so many books. And then once I forget where I heard this. And then, because it says like, successful people read 60 books, or CEOs read 60 books a year or whatever.
Somebody had to make.
You start to wonder. Yeah, exactly. So then I was wondering, like, maybe I should just apply some of the things I learned from 2 of the books and really work on those.
Right.
So I guess you live and learn, and you're just always evolving, right? But it's really getting down that why, like you mentioned.
What's the biggest struggle you have with goal setting right now?
Biggest struggle, setting too many.
Mm-hmm.
I like those too many little ones, and sometimes, like, because of the nature of my business, sometimes I get called out at different times of the day, and it kind of gets in the way of some of my goals. So like last night I was up to like 11 trying to complete my goal list. But I got to just accept that I can probably just put it on tomorrow's goal list.
exactly.
that's probably my toughest. Yeah.
My biggest struggle is I'm a tech guy, and so you tend to try to make things work in technology, and so there's a ton of different apps and to-do lists and things that you can use for goals and things, and I found that if I don't have it on something physical in front of me, it's out of sight, out of mind, and so I've gone back to basics. I've got that right there. I've got, this is my bullet journal, things that I write down there, but even that, I just got this about a month ago, and this has been really good for me. Is I've got this little whiteboard, and I've got like my main projects that I'm working on, and then like the
Awesome.
three or four things that I need to do with them, and I keep that there, and it sits right where I'm seeing it all the time, and that
That's
helps
perfect.
me. Like when I'm setting up my week, I'm looking at this to make sure like that my time is lining up with this, and then throughout the week, like, oh crap, that's right, I was going to get this thing done. And did I miss my appointment to do it earlier in the week? Do I need to reset time or what? But just having it right there on something physical. I don't know. I've been in tech for most of my life and different things, but it's the old school, paper and pen and physical stuff. There's just something about it for me that, like you with your sticky notes on your computer, right?
Yeah. I do the sticky notes. That's on a daily basis, but I actually use apps. I just use a notepad, actually, not the notepad, but the reminders on my phone. So
Yeah.
someone told me this literally 2 weeks ago, and they're like, you can just talk to Siri and say, hey, remind me at 7 p.m. to do this.
Yeah.
And like, I kind of knew that, but then they told me about it, and I was just like, man, that's smart. Because like, I always think of things when I'm driving.
Yeah.
So I can't really put it in my notes, And I'm like, yeah, I'll remember when I get to where I'm going. And then a good song comes on, or I'm listening to a podcast and I forget. But now I just go, hey, Siri, remind me at whatever, 5 p.m. to call so-and-so.
Yep.
And I find that's been helping a lot as well.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Or you can say, remind me when I get to work, or remind me when I get home.
Yeah. Oh, true.
We'll do location stuff too with the reminding on Siri, which is pretty cool. So
wow, I learned something today. Perfect.
Yeah. Well, I just did that the other day. I'm like, holy crap, this works on iPhone too. What is one thing, if there was one thing someone was listening to this goal setting thing that you'd want them to take away as an understanding about goal setting, what would that one thing be?
One thing is probably one of the most important things is don't set them it's tough because you don't want to set them too big expectations, depending what kind of person you are.
Uh-huh.
If I set a super big goal and I only make it halfway, but it's a huge goal, then I feel like that's a success.
Yeah.
But some people like to attain it all the way, right? So you have to know yourself in that sense as well. So, and also set them according to what you can accomplish in a day.
Yep.
So be realistic about it. Like, you don't need to fill up your whole day by goal setting, you're way more efficient. So things that you would normally do in 12 hours will only take you 6 hours if you know exactly what you're doing and your goals are set out for that day. So it's really knowing how many to set and when to set them, and you can still be super successful and happy with your life by having free time as well. Like, book that in as well.
Amen. I heard someone say one time a long time ago that it's better to aim high and miss than aim low and hit.
For sure.
And that's been a motto for me. I'm a stubborn optimist is how I describe myself. And so I'll set really huge goals for things, and then I'll be okay with if I make half of that, it's better than, not doing anything at all or being lower with it. So I'll just set insanely high goals for things with the thought that, I may not hit that target, but if I even get close to it or a third of the way there, I'm ahead of most people, and I'm doing something cool. So
well, that's exactly how I think about it. Like I'm doing right now, I just decided my goal when I was a kid was like to make $1 million as fast as I could by the age of 30. But then I felt like that was a little bit too selfish. So I changed my goal, and I'm like, I want to donate $1 million by the time I'm 30. And I'm 25 now. So I'm like filming all my progress, like all the meetings I go on. I kind of want to show my journey on like social media. And I get always like people, even my immediate family and stuff, saying, Tristan, that's a huge goal. Like, you're probably not going to achieve it. And I tell them, like, what, are you going to be mad if I donate $500,000 or if I donate 200,000? Like, it's still donations, right? So like, even if I donate 5,000, it's still a win.
Yeah.
But it's having that higher goal that I'm trying to, like Grant Cardone, he says, the 10 times rule.
Yeah.
If your goal is $100, 10 times it.
Yeah.
$1,000, and if you don't make it, you're still above your $100 original goal.
Yeah, I listened to his 10X, the Audible book for that last
Yeah,
year.
same.
That's, if you ever want a good just shot in the arm of motivation, just put on a chapter of that book and listen to it. Some people hate his voice, but I love it and I love his style, so I really enjoy it.
Yeah, he's funny. He's really confident and cocky.
Yeah.
But it's some people. It depends who you are, right? Yeah. Some different guys motivate you in different ways.
So other than Tony Robbins, who are some people that you look to for examples on goal setting or things that you kind of follow?
Gary Vee's great. I just read his newest book, Crushing It.
Okay.
If you're on to personal branding
Mhm.
and being big online, then that's a great book. Obviously, the best book ever. I'm not even done it, but I'm only like a quarter of the way through. But it's still the best book I've ever read. Is Tony Robbins' Awaken the Giant Within.
Mhm.
It's a huge book, like 500 pages, but amazing. And just 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, just like the
Mhm.
classics.
Yep.
Think and Grow Rich,
Yep.
Napoleon Hill.
Yep. Yeah, that's one of my.
Yeah, perfect.
I got it. I got it right here. It's one of those just to flip through a few things every day
And
and just
take
read
notes
it.
while you're reading too, eh?
Yeah, yeah.
I find that really
I've got
helps.
scribbles all over in that book, and I've
Yeah.
got at least four times. And I know for me, when I got started with my business, it was just around the first time I'd been reading that book, and that put me in the mindset to actually reach out to the person who's now my co-founder. And when we had our conversation about what he was working on, I had the mindset of saying maybe we should do something with this. Whereas if I hadn't been reading that or hadn't been that mindset, I might not have even called him. Or on that phone call, I might not even suggested we look at doing something with it. And so that helped drive some goals for us to push forward. So one last question, then we'll round it up. How do you deal with adversity when you're going through your goals, or like you said earlier, when you start to get around the negative or the naysayers, or when you start to doubt yourself? How do you deal with that with goal setting?
So I've been reading a lot of books on state of mind,
Mm-hmm.
and what I've really learned, and I think a lot of people nowadays, especially going through a little bit of like downs or like mental health is a big issue, anxiety. And everyone has it, I think, and it's just practicing nipping it as soon as it shows up. So with naysayers, I used to think about what they would say, and it would become like a recurring tape in my head,
You
and it would
internalize.
kind of get me down a little bit, and I'd start to believe them.
Yeah.
I'm like, maybe I can't, like it kind of makes sense what he's saying, but then I learned to just catch myself thinking that right away.
Yep.
And now I think it's hilarious. Sorry, my cat's just,
Oh,
I think it's hilarious. I think it's hilarious when people think that I can't do it. Cause I'm just so confident that it's going to happen. Like I have no doubts in my mind that it's going to happen, that now I just think it's hilarious. Like in my head, I just laugh because I feel bad for them because they're conditioned to think negatively.
Mm-hmm.
And even for their own goals, they're always telling me, oh, I'd like to do this. And in my head, like I try to motivate them, but then they kind of get mad at me because they have that fear
Yeah. Yep.
that's blocking them.
Yep.
So I believe that I've trained myself to think of it as a positive way when people like think like are negative about what I'm doing.
Yep.
So I get a smile on my face. I think it's fun. I think it's hilarious because like when I make it, I can just look back and I'm not going to say anything to them, but they're just going to see it.
Right. Exactly. Yep. I know for me, I used to internalize a lot of that stuff too. And then I went through a point where I would just avoid those people altogether. And
Huge.
now I'm at the point where I'm okay talking to them about it, and I can kind of filter it out when they are negative. I kind of see, like you said, the fear, or they have a fear of change or a fear of growth. There's maybe a dream that they have that they're not working on, that when they see you taking
Exactly.
action, it bothers them. And so it's more of a compassion for people rather than just being,
yeah. And one last thing too, along with that, how you're saying that you started to associate yourself a little bit less with those people.
Yeah.
It's really tough to do, but sometimes it's not because you don't like them. It's just because you have different mindsets at the time, which is completely okay.
Yeah.
But what I learned from going to a couple of these seminars, I went with Mark Lack, this guy, he's a multi-millionaire. He's 27 years old in California, lives in a nice couple $1 million home. And he had like a mastermind group. And at the start, like all the money that I paid to go to the seminar was worth it for like the first thing he told us. He's like, all these people like Ty Lopez, Grant Cardone, like myself, he's like, we're going to teach you systems that we use, but that's not how we got rich. They're like, we all got rich off networking and building relationships.
Yep.
So he's like, we surround ourselves with people that are better than us or have the same mindset as us.
Yeah.
He's like, that's the difference. Like, you don't need like these funnels, these click funnels, the sales pitches. Like, obviously those help.
Yeah.
But he's like, you just build the right relationships, you're golden. You'll be a millionaire in no time.
Yeah. So that should be the ultimate goal for people, is to make meaningful connections with people that are lined up with your vision.
Yeah. Yeah. And find those people.
Right.
That's the toughest part too.
Easier now.
Well, look at you reached
social media, right?
You reached out, right? You reached out. Like, we have the same mindset. So there's a connection right there, you know? And look what we're doing right now.
They said, I need to do this, and I started doing it. And Grant Cardone's 10X book, when he talks about massive action.
Yeah.
That's just it. You set goals and you start working for them and start trying them. If it doesn't work, adapt it and adjust and execute on something
Exactly.
else.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I think you and I could end up talking for about 2 hours here on this. We'll have to do
I know. Yeah.
on other topics. So thanks for joining me for goal setting here, and we'll probably do this again on another topic.